What happens when a struggling farmer turns to a celebrity for help, only to be dismissed in his moment of need? This is the powerful story of Thomas Harper, a man who refused to give up on his farm and his community. As his neighbors rallied around him, their determination caught the attention of the very man who walked away, Snoop Dogg. What follows is a journey of resilience, redemption, and an unforgettable life lesson. Stay tuned to witness how one farmer's fight to save his legacy inspired a movement that changed lives forever. In a quiet rural town surrounded by endless fields, Thomas Harper, a hard-working farmer in his 50s, was facing a crisis. His family farm, passed down through generations, was on the brink of collapse due to drought and mounting debts. Despite his best efforts, Thomas couldn't produce enough crops to cover his expenses, let alone keep the farm running. Desperate, Thomas decided to reach out for help. He had heard about celebrities stepping in to support struggling farmers, and when he learned that Snoop Dogg was planning to visit the nearby city for a charity event, he saw a sliver of hope. Thomas drove 2 hours to the city, wearing his best denim jacket and carrying a folder with documents showing his farm's dire situation. He stood outside the charity event venue, holding a handmade sign that read, "Save Our Farms." When Snoop arrived, surrounded by cameras and fans, Thomas mustered his courage and stepped forward. "Mr. Dogg," he called out, his voice trembling, "I need your help. My farm is about to go under, and my family is depending on me. Please, anything you can do." Snoop paused, his entourage stopping behind him. He looked Thomas up and down and said, "Look, man, I respect the hustle, but I can't save every farm out here. You gotta figure it out." The crowd chuckled nervously as Snoop walked into the event, leaving Thomas standing alone, his hope shattered. Thomas returned home that night, staring out over his withering fields. His disappointment turned into resolve as he whispered to himself, "If no one's going to help me, I'll find a way, with or without them." Little did he know, the events that would follow would not only save his farm, but also teach Snoop Dogg a lesson he would never forget. Thomas returned home, determined to find a solution. The farm wasn't just a piece of land. It was his family's legacy and a lifeline for the community. Over the years, he had quietly supported his neighbors with fresh produce, jobs, and resources during tough times. Now, it was his turn to ask for help. The next morning, Thomas called a meeting at the town's community center. Dozens of farmers, shop owners, and neighbors gathered, curious about what Thomas had to say. He stood before them, his weathered face showing a mix of determination and vulnerability. "Our farm is on the edge of collapse," Thomas began. "But this isn't just about my family. If we lose this farm, we all lose a part of what holds this town together. I can't save it alone, but together, maybe we can find a way." The room fell silent, and then a voice from the back spoke up. "We've got your back, Thomas." One by one, others joined in, pledging their support. Over the next few weeks, the community came together like never before. They organized fundraisers, hosted farm-to-table dinners, and launched a social media campaign with the hashtag #SaveOurFarms. Local artists painted murals on barns, highlighting the importance of farming, while young volunteers helped repair irrigation systems and plant new seeds. The movement gained traction, and soon, news outlets began covering the story of the little town fighting to save its heart and soul. The campaign caught fire online, with people from across the country donating to the cause. A video of Thomas standing in his fields, talking about the importance of family and perseverance, went viral. Celebrities and influencers shared the video, praising the town's unity and resilience. One post read, "This is what America is about, people coming together to help each other. #SaveOurFarms." Ironically, one of the videos even reached Snoop Dogg's team. His publicist, Denise, showed it to him during a meeting. "You see this?" she asked, holding up her phone. "That's the guy you turned down. He's making waves now." Snoop watched the video quietly, his usual confident demeanor replaced with thoughtfulness. Maybe I underestimated him, he muttered. Back in the town, the community's efforts were making a difference, but it still wasn't enough to completely save the farm. As Thomas stood in his fields one evening, watching the sunset, he wondered if all their hard work would be enough. What he didn't know was that his story had struck a chord with someone he never expected to hear from again. As the campaign to save the farm gained momentum, Thomas and his community worked tirelessly. Though donations were coming in, they still faced a massive gap to cover the farm's debts. One bright morning, as Thomas was tending to his struggling crops, a sleek black SUV rolled up the dirt road to his farmhouse. Dust swirled in its wake, catching the attention of neighbors and volunteers working nearby. The vehicle stopped, and out stepped Snoop Dogg, dressed casually in a black hoodie and jeans, but unmistakable with his signature swagger. Thomas wiped his hands on his jeans, squinting in disbelief as Snoop approached him. "Thomas, right?" Snoop said, extending a hand. "I owe you an apology." Thomas hesitated before shaking his hand. "What brings you here, Mr. Dogg?" he asked, his tone guarded. "I saw what you and your community are doing," Snoop said, gesturing toward the volunteers working in the distance. "I didn't take you seriously before, and that was my mistake. But watching you fight for your farm, it's inspiring. I want to help." Thomas crossed his arms, skeptical. "Why the change of heart?" Snoop nodded, his expression sincere. "Because I see now that what you're fighting for isn't just a piece of land. It's a legacy, a way of life, and something that brings people together. I want to be part of that." Snoop didn't just offer financial support. He rolled up his sleeves and joined the community's efforts. Over the next few days, he worked alongside the volunteers, repairing fences, planting seeds, and even hosting a farm-to-table dinner that drew hundreds of supporters from neighboring towns. The event was a massive success. Snoop served as the evening's host, using his platform to rally more donations and awareness for the cause. His genuine involvement began to win over even the most skeptical residents. Snoop and Thomas spent time together during these efforts, exchanging stories and learning from each other. "You know," Thomas said one evening as they sat on the porch, "when you walked away that day, it felt like the end for me. But in a strange way, it pushed me to fight harder. And now look at us." Snoop chuckled. "Life's funny like that. Sometimes it takes a mistake to show you what really matters. And man, this farm, it matters." As the community's efforts continued, Thomas received a letter from his bank. It was the final notice before the farm would be put up for auction. Despite their progress, they still weren't out of the woods. Snoop looked at Thomas as he read the letter, determination flashing in his eyes. "We're not letting this happen," he said firmly. "Not on my watch." The letter from the bank was a harsh reminder that time was running out. Despite the progress made by the community, the farm's debt still loomed large. Determined not to let Thomas lose everything, Snoop Dogg and the town rallied for one last major effort. Snoop called an emergency meeting at the town's community center. Standing in front of the crowd, he outlined a bold plan, a Save Our Farms benefit concert. "We'll bring the music to the farm," Snoop announced. "We'll draw in people from all over, give them great food, great music, and show them what this place is all about. Every penny goes towards saving the Harper family farm." The room erupted into applause, and volunteers immediately got to work. Local businesses offered sponsorships, neighbors donated supplies, and the younger residents spread the word on social media. The hashtag #SaveOurFarmLive began trending within days. Under Snoop's guidance, the farm was transformed into an event venue. The main field was cleared to make space for a stage. String lights were hung between trees, and local artists painted murals of farm life on the barn walls. Thomas, initially hesitant about the spectacle, found himself moved by the outpouring of support. As he worked alongside Snoop and the volunteers, he realized how much the farm had come to symbolize unity and perseverance. "This isn't just my fight anymore," Thomas said one evening. "It's ours." The benefit concert was a sight to behold. Hundreds of people gathered under the stars, filling the fields with laughter and anticipation. Food trucks served farm-fresh meals, local vendors sold handmade crafts, and children played on hay bales as families mingled. When the music began, the energy was electric. Snoop Dogg took the stage, performing some of his biggest hits. But the highlight of the night was a collaboration with local musicians. Together, they performed a song titled Roots Run Deep, written specifically for the event. The lyrics celebrated the resilience of farmers, the strength of community, and the importance of preserving traditions. The crowd sang along, their voices echoing across the fields. Midway through the concert, Snoop invited Thomas onto the stage. Standing before the crowd, Thomas wiped tears from his eyes as he said, "I've always believed in the power of hard work, but I never imagined the power of a community coming together like this. Thank you for saving not just my farm, but everything it represents." The crowd erupted into cheers as donation pledges poured in. By the end of the night, they had raised more than enough to pay off the farm's debts. As the night wound down, Snoop pulled Thomas aside. "You've got something special here," he said. "This isn't just about saving one farm. What if we use this momentum to help other farmers too?" Thomas stared at him, surprised. "You really think we can do that?" Snoop grinned. "Man, if we can pull off tonight, we can do anything." The seeds of a larger movement were planted, but the real test was yet to come. The success of the benefit concert not only saved Thomas Harper's farm, but also inspired something far greater. As the dust settled and the fields returned to their quiet rhythm, Snoop Dogg and Thomas began brainstorming ways to expand their efforts. "This isn't just about one farm," Snoop said during a meeting at Thomas's farmhouse. "There are thousands of farmers out there facing the same struggles you did. What if we create something bigger, something that helps all of them?" Together, they launched Roots United, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting struggling farmers across the country. The organization aimed to provide financial assistance, mentorship programs, and resources to help farmers adapt to modern challenges like climate change and market shifts. The movement quickly gained traction. With Snoop Dogg as its public face, Roots United attracted national media attention and corporate sponsors eager to support the cause. Thomas served as the organization's heart, traveling to farms to connect directly with families and share his story of resilience. The first major project was the creation of community-supported agriculture hubs, where local farmers could sell their produce directly to consumers without the burden of middlemen. At one such hub opening, a farmer approached Thomas with tears in her eyes. "If it weren't for Roots United, I don't know how I would have kept my land," she said. "You gave us hope when we had none." Thomas smiled, deeply moved. "This is what it's all about," he replied. The Harper family farm became the headquarters of Roots United, serving as both a working farm and a training center for new farmers. Snoop frequently visited, often bringing celebrities and influencers to help raise awareness and funds. One afternoon, as Thomas and Snoop walked the fields together, they reflected on how far they'd come. "You know," Thomas said, "I never thought I'd see the day when my little farm became a symbol for something so big." Snoop nodded. "And I never thought I'd learn so much from a farmer. Life's funny like that." The movement continued to grow, inspiring legislation to provide more support for small farmers and creating a wave of grassroots efforts across the country. Roots United became a household name, proving that when people come together, they can achieve incredible things. Years later, Thomas stood at the edge of his thriving fields, watching a group of young farmers participate in a training session at the Roots United headquarters. Beside him, Snoop leaned against a fence, his signature sunglasses reflecting the golden sunset. "We've done good, haven't we?" Thomas said, his voice filled with pride. Snoop grinned. "We've done great, and we're just getting started." As the camera panned out, the field stretched endlessly, a testament to the power of resilience, unity, and second chances. Asterisk, Thomas's story reminds us that even in the face of rejection, we can find strength and build something extraordinary. From saving one farm to creating a national movement, This tale of resilience and unity proves that we're stronger together. What did you think of this incredible journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'll try to reply to as many as I can. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this one. See you in the next video. Asterisk.